Hello my friends, welcome to another exciting episode in our Photoshop effects series. In this video I'll show you how to add highlights and glow to your images inside of Photoshop. You can use this for your posters, your spot posters and movie posters to make your images pop. If you've not subscribed to my channel, now's the best time to do that. Make sure to turn on post notification. Without having to waste much time, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is click on new, and now this is where we're gonna have the name like we've done in previous videos. So if you've not watched any of my past videos, you can go back to my channel and check out some of the videos I've done in the past. So this is gonna be highlights and glow effect, and I'm going to change this to 1000. Yes, but sorry, I'm going to put it to pixels, so it's going to be 1920 by 1080. That's a start. 1920 by 1080, like this. Resolution 300, transparent, and click OK. Right. So immediately you do this, you'll be greeted with this interface like this. And there's a video I made as regards this concerning how to arrange your interface like this, so you can do well to look it up somewhere around here. So I'm going to bring in this image, the image of this guy. I generated it with AI, so it's an AI generated image. I'll show you how you can do that. You can comment yes if you want me to show you how to generate images using AI. Alright, so I'm just going to sample these colors from the body of the image. So this is the first one for the foreground color. This is the color here, and for the background, this is the color code I'm going to be using. So let's get right into it. So yes, I'm just going to create a color. Double click on this, and I'm going to just select a random color here. Make sure it's very dark, right, and it's close to green. So I'm just going to go down here a bit. I think this is fine. So for the background, this is the color that I'm going to be using. This is the code. So just press OK like this. Okay then, so let's move on. The next thing I'm going to do is this is the image. Yeah, like I said, it's an AI generated image. Let me put this to full screen so you see the image. So I'd remove the background already, but you can do that yourself. Okay, so before we do any of that, let's make sure we do the first thing here, that is making the image itself pop. Right, so go over to filter, inside filter, go to camera raw filter. Right, and when it loads up like this, a couple of things we're going to be doing here. The first thing is to tone down the highlights like this, increase the contrast, and increase the shadow like this. Right, and come over here, the texture, bump it all up. You can make it 100. Most times it works. It just depends on the image you're using. Right, and basically just copy my settings for this part here. Open up the details and add some sharpening effect to this, just like this, and click OK. And when you do this, the next thing you want to do is, you can see you have some of all this white outside of this image. Most times you download images and they come with this white white line outside of it. So how do you do that? Now we have to get rid of it. Right, so the first thing we need to do is come over here and convert to smart object. Okay, so now that I've converted to smart object, what you want to do is hold down your control key on your keyboard and click on the thumbnail like this. Then you should have a shape like this. Click on the mask icon to mask it out like this. right? So when you mask it out, you would see that the selection should disappear and you should be left with a mask that looks like this, right? So select the mask, go over to filter and click on others and click on minimum and reduce the radius the way you want it to be. You can see that from afar we're not seeing anything, so let's zoom in a bit. Let's see what's going on here. Come down, you can see this is how it was before and this is how it is now, right? So this is something we can work with, so it's fine. Just click OK like this, and once again convert it to smart objects. That's the image, and click on adjustments, click on curves. Now we're going to be applying curves differently, right? So clip it to this image and bump it up from this part here like this. Remember, this is what we use to create the shine effect, right? So what you want to do is, no, instead of inverting, you're not inverting, Ctrl Z, right click and click on blending option like this, right? So inside of blending option, you're not clicking on any of these things outside, you're on blend if, right? So under blend if, take the slider to the right like this. Now when you get your desired glow or your desired shine, now tear it apart by holding the Alt key like this, separate it, right? So you can move this close to it and you are left with this nice shine effect. So what you need to do here now is just click on OK like this and you are good to go. You can even tone down the opacity here and just the way you want it, right? So this is after. This is where we are at currently. Okay. Okay, select the two of them and convert them to smart object again, just like this. Okay, so let's add some more effect to this, like the skin. Let's make it smoother. So Ctrl J and with this one selected, go to camera raw filter. I just made a duplicate copy of the image, that's all I did, and increase this noise reduction like this, and also go back to basic and reduce the texture like this and increase the clarity like this and click OK like this. Now, so with what I've just done now, you can see that I've made the whole image flat and everything. We don't want that, so click on the mask to mask it out and select the mask and invert it, Ctrl I, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to use our brush to paint in those smooth areas we need to make smooth. Like areas like this, you can just gently start revealing those areas, right? As you can see, areas like this, areas like this, around the eyes. Make sure you don't paint on the eyes or the tip of the nose. You can put it on top of the nose but not on the tip, and also anything that has to do with the mouth, the teeth, and you can do it on the lips and every other place, right? We don't want image looking plastic, kind of like. Okay, so I'm just going to smoothen up other areas that actually matter. So I'm not getting too close to the mouth or the teeth region, I'm just staying around the skin region. So I'll just do on this part also too. Okay, so having done that, I'll just go ahead and select the two layers and convert to smart object like this, so it becomes one like this, like we did for previous layers. And the next thing I want to do is I go over to creating the light effect, that's the rim light or the backlight as the case may be. So select this layer, create a new layer above it, and go over to your brush, make sure the flow is set to 100, and make sure you're using this as the light source. Let's go here. So this is the color code, you can use that, right? So I'm going to make my brush big. You can do this manually here by typing also, and set it to 1000, and you have this, or manually increase it using the bracket key like this. Now I'm going to use the same size. You can see that my brush is like almost seems to be like on top of the image on the edge, so that's where I want the light to be. So I'm doing that twice, right? And I'm just going to change the blend mode to screen like this. I can duplicate it to create this effect like this, and yep, so we have a very good light source. That means we have where our light is coming from, so we know how to use our lighting system. So create another layer. This time I'm going to use my brush, but I'm just going to change the color, I guess. Double click here and select a lighter version of that color, very light, and click on the outside like this. You can see the farther it gets, the brighter it becomes. So that's the theory here, right? So now we have these three layers. This is also set to screen, don't forget that. So let's work on the image, right? So you can group all of this, and of course, so you have your layers ordered well and well arranged. So no, save yourself the stress, Ctrl G to group, and you can rename this like this. Okay, so basically it's just going to be backlight like this, and we're good to go. Okay, so going forward, let's focus our attention on the image itself. So the first thing we want to do is adjustment layer and go over to exposure. Right, so inside exposure here, there are some things I want to be explaining, but now know that the exposure, you are going to right click and create clipping mask on the image, so it's affecting only the image. Now turn down the exposure like this, blackout like this. It's not necessarily you go extreme, though some persons would like to do that, but for this it's not going to be necessary, right? And add a little bit of gamma correction to it, not too much. So this is what you have. So sorry about that, Ctrl Z. So on the mask for the exposure, right, this is the exposure, right, this is what we just fixed, right? So what you need to do is on the exposure, on the mask selected, go over to your brush, turn off the cap locks, and what you want to do is make sure your foreground color, you can see nothing is working, make sure your foreground color is set to black, and make sure you review these areas, make it lighter. You can see that this very first step now has changed a whole lot of things with this image. You can see that basically you have the area facing the lights lit up, and the areas far from the lights, that's the left hand or your right hand looking at it, is dark. This region is particularly dark, right? So this is the first step, right? So now that we have this out of the way, we are good to go. So let's bring in some things. Now for this backlight, okay, let me continue with this exposure. So click on adjustment layer. The next thing you want to add is solid color, right? So I'm just going to use this color here. You can copy my color code. This is like the green we used before, so it's just a repetition of color. So again, create clipping mask like this, change the blend mode to screen, just like this, right? So after you've done this, you want to go over to your mask, invert it, Ctrl I like this, Ctrl I to invert, and what you want to do is select your brush, and since you are working on a black mask, make sure this is white, right? If it's white, make it black. So that's just the simple theory there. So on these areas, you want to paint in some lights. Don't worry if the light looks awkward, but then just I'm starting again, painting some lights around here. We have a huge amount of lights in these areas here, right? Around these areas, yes, we have light hitting the clothes around this area, right? So this is the first thing, right? So to cover other areas, reduce the flow. So I'm just going to go to flow and reduce the flow. You know, it was at 100%, so I'm just going to reduce it to minimum 8, and I'm just going to, so I blend this place well inside, so it blends well. We don't want too much glow inside, just something like this, you understand? So something like this, and we're good to go. So I wouldn't want any of that on the face right now. We'll handle that later on, right? So increase the flow, and let's clean out some areas like these areas. You see, I'm cleaning out those areas I don't need. I've inverted my foreground color to black, and I'm cleaning them with my brush, right? Good. So when all that is done, right click and go to blending option. Now we're going to be making use of the blend if, right? So inside blend if, we're going to be doing things differently. Now hold down the alt key, move this aside, hold down the alt key and divide this like this, not too much, just so that the effect you made is visible. So something like this, and when you are done, click OK like this, right? So on the mask, I can go in on the mask and use my brush, set it to 100, and create some intensity around these areas to make it pop more, right? You can see how controlled this is now compared to how it was before, right? So this is like the base light, like the first light, yeah. So I have it this way. This is fine. Okay, so reduce the flow also, and apply some light here, some light here, and we're good to go. So you can also reduce the opacity like this if you feel it's too much, whichever ways works best for you, right? Great. This is the color code of the green I used, so click OK. Going forward, create another solid color adjustment layer, use the same color code. I can move to the lighter region and press OK, but this time I'm going to create clipping mask also, but the only change here is I'm going to make this instead of screen, I'm going to make it, okay, so this is what I'm working with. I'm going to change the blend mode to linear dodge add. Okay, so click on the mask again like this and invert it, Ctrl I to invert, and make sure your foreground color is set to white, and with your brush selected, increase the flow. Yeah, we can do 100 for this. Now we are going to go to the edges, especially the edges, right? This is like the second lighting. In some compositions like this, you can have like 5 or 6 lighting to give you that effect that you so need. So when you do the first one, don't get tired and say, wow, I'm tired and I'm not getting it, right? Even the pros, it took them time to learn some of these things, right? So apply it here, revert this to delete this, go back to white again, paint here, paint well now, right? So I'm just going to do all of this way. With the knowledge of how I created the first one, you'll be able to do this one also. So I'm just going to fast forward this just a bit. So let's get back on. So next thing I want to do is, having done all of this, right, I have my two lights. I'll go to brightness and contrast. Of course, I'm still going to clip this, so create clipping mask like this. I'm just going to increase brightness all the way like this, and of course I don't want the brightness on the whole image, so you know what I'm going to do, right? Apply a few contrast, click on the mask, Ctrl I to invert it, and with my brush selected, I'm just going to brush in the brightness that I want. Increase the flow to 100, please. Yes, so on these areas I need maximum brightness. Yeah, so yes, on this region also, you notice how I reduce it because I'm coming inside here. So of course, brighten it, brighten this region. Slide the phone back like this. Okay, also this part here too, brighten it like this, and voila. So you can also reduce it when you feel it's too much, right? So this is before and this is after. So you can reduce this also and increase this like this way. So it's perfect, right? So that's one good thing about Photoshop. You have control of every layer that you have, right? So you can increase the brightness or duplicate it, and you have this. Increase the brightness again and do the same process all over again. But I guess I'm not going to go down that route, right? So I'm just going to, okay, I'm going to use double brightness, right? So the next thing I'm going to create is photo filter. So in photo filter, I'm just going to use this one, but I'm going to change the color to the green that I used, right? So if you have the color code copied somewhere, you can paste it here while I go and look for my own, because I didn't paste mine. So I'm just going to navigate, go up, come here. Okay, I think it's somewhere here, and I'm just simply going to select this one, click OK like this, and this is the color I want. So I'm just going to apply, increase the density. You can see that the whole image has this kind of green to it now. So this is how you can quickly correct your images and add some tones to it, or add some filters to it, right? So having done this, this is not going to be clipped. It's affecting the whole image, or you can as well make sure it's just on the image. Well, it doesn't change anything, right? Either ways you want, you can clip it or you can decide to leave it, but in this case I guess let's just clip it, right? Because we'll still do the overall balancing of the image, right? So going on, for these lights, I'm going to reduce the opacity of this one so it's not too much. I think it's good like this. Close this up. We're done there. Go over to this layer and select all of them, Ctrl G to group them. I'm going to name this image, right? So this is the image that has all the effects, right? Good. So this is what you have inside. Okay, before after, you can see that every light or every layer is playing an important role here. So with this one now, it's, let me add some like just a little bit of light. My flow is set to 24. Make sure that you're doing the same thing too. I'm not adding too many lights, just a few bits of light here. I'm also going to this part too. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to be adding light here, add the same light here, and yeah, you don't want to do more than that. Okay, fantastic, great. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is adjustment layer, black and white. Now you might be wondering why I'm applying black and white. Now this is a trick here. So most times I use this to actually get contrast in my image, like contrast in that sense. So I'll set it to luminosity, and before and after, I'm just going to reduce the opacity so it's not too much, like this, and yes, perfect. So that's what I want to create. So go to adjustment again, and this time color balance. So for the midtones, I'm going to be tilting towards the green. Of course, you should know this, right? And okay, so a little bit to the cyan. For the highlights, please, I'm tilting towards the green also. And basically, I think that works. 4 works. Make sure you're not doing too much. For the shadow, please, like you've seen in our previous video, I'm going towards the blue to make it more realistic, right? Make sure you're not doing too much. True for this. Okay, so this is what you have at the moment. So create another layer above this. So I'm just going to put in my text and type what I want to type here. Okay, so I'm just going to change the blend mode to I'm going to leave it at normal or dissolve. Yeah, dissolve works. And yeah, that's just okay. I think this works too, so this is fine. Alright guys, this is how I was able to create this effect in Photoshop. If you've liked my video, don't forget to subscribe and most importantly, like and share, right? I'll see you in the next video just up here. Bye.